Welcome back, times newcomers alike, to Apollo Justice's attorney. We're nearing the end of the third case. Last episode, we cross-examined Machi, Tobaye, and Lamiroir. Machi Tobaye refused to testify. So now we're trying to get some information out of the latter. What we're supposed to do is press this statement. And this is as far as I looked on the walkthrough. I didn't want to be too informed about everything else. Let's go. Darian Crescend.
I did not know his name at that time. But yes, it was him. The one who took the stand yesterday.
How many times do I need to remind you that's impossible? There was no way you could have heard him.
Because the window at the scene was closed? Is that why?
Of course.
Apollo, if we keep asking the same questions as yesterday, we won't get anywhere.
She's right. Maybe there's a different angle I can try. See, what the game does here is they basically try to give you false intuition by making you think it's the last two angles by telling you she's hiding something on those. But you're really supposed to press this one and ask what they're talking about. Lamiroir, do you by any chance remember what they were saying to each other? If so, please tell us.
I have given it much reflection, but
I was afraid of this. She doesn't remember.
I only heard one phrase clearly.
A whole phrase?
You remember something that was said?
Why didn't you say anything yesterday?
Though my memory is clear, I was afraid to speak. You see, I do not understand what was said.
This could be it. The clue I've been waiting for. Well, what did he say?
It was the other man speaking, not Mr. Letus.
The shooter, then. Darian Crescend. Well, what did he say?
It's over. Press the switch. Now!
Switch? And the shooter said this to the victim, Mr. Letus?
I thought it quite strange myself, afterward.
It is a mystery. What could it possibly mean? Mr. Justice, care to shed some light on this? I mean, sure, I'd be delighted. It's very, very vital. Maybe we could add that to the testimony.
Maybe, Apollo?
Alright, from the small window I heard a voice say, press a switch now, and I think we know where this is going. Let's present the remote trigger. Press the switch. There's only one key that can unlock the mystery of those words.
Oh? Yet there was nothing at the scene that could be called a switch. Save the lights.
True, there wasn't a switch at the scene. But it just so happens, I have a switch right here. That certainly does look like a switch, doesn't it? The problem is, this was found not at the scene of the crime, but on the stage. The stage? Where the concert was held, yes. This was found hidden there.
On the stage.
Are you claiming that the voice Lamiroir heard was of someone commanding another to press this switch? It's a possibility.
Oh, a forehead. I'd call that an impossibility.
Why?
It's hardly necessary for me to remind the court of the layout of the concert forum. The stage is quite far from Lamiroir's dressing room. Not to mention that the Gaviners were in the middle of a concert on said stage. We aren't known for being a quiet band. You could shout all you wanted and not be heard.
The detective's voice was loud, but certainly not a shout.
So too have our forehead's cries of possibility fallen far short of being heard.
Sorry, but he wouldn't have needed to shout.
Excuse me?
You heard what I said, or do you need me to shout it out for you? It would have been quite simple to be heard on the stage from that dressing room. Oh wait, you like evidence, don't you? How about this? Now, using this would be easy to get a message to someone on the stage from the dressing room. This headset. Prosecutor Gavin, perhaps you're familiar with this.
Why that's...
What? What is it? Is that some kind of newfangled phone they invented while I wasn't looking? This is a type of transmitter, a communications device. Communications? Device? From what I heard that night, everyone on stage was wearing one of these. Isn't that right, Prosecutor Gavin?
Yes, actually. They're for talking between band members. We all had one on.
So you admit that if you were wearing one of these, talking from the backstage to the stage would be simple?
True, but wait. Those send out an electronic signal. To avoid interference with the audio systems, their range is quite limited.
Lamiroir said it was about 30 feet, right?
Look at this cross-section diagram of the concert forum.
Ah.
Exactly. The walk from the stage to the backstage seems far, but the direct distance is less than 30 feet.
That can't be.
So, when Lamiroir heard the shooter's voice, he could have been talking to someone on stage.
Ha! You're claiming this is the switch in question? Why did it have to be on the stage at the time? It could be placed in a pocket and carried anywhere. Someone could have hid it on the stage after the fact.
Hey, he's got a point. How do we know where it was when she heard the voice? When the shooter said, press the switch.
Well, I guess we don't... an unfortunate situation. I'm afraid that until we know where the switch was, there's no little point debating it. I was sure this was the way to go with this.
What is this switch anyway? We don't even know that basic fact.
Wait a second. I do know what the switch is. And if you follow that train of logic to its incredible conclusion, it ends up in proof that completely changes this case.
What's up, Apollo? Apollo?
We know about this switch, right? We know what it is.
Yeah?
Well, think of when it was used that day. Think of what happened. Well, Mr. Justice, if you have no further information to share concerning this switch... Your Honor. Yes, Mr. Justice? I've been remiss in not telling the court this before. I know what this switch is. Well, it seems the defense is set upon linking the switch to the case. Let's see your evidence of the link. What evidence do you have to explain what this switch is? We have... Ta-da! The igniter! Prosecutor Gavin, you remember this?
That's that.
That's what? Is it another one of those newfangled phones? This is an igniter. What phone looks like this? Igniter? You mean it's like a lighter? Yes, actually.
You aren't saying this switch is a remote.
I am. This is a remote trigger for an igniter.
What?
Look, I'll show you. Mr. Justice, you will cease and desist from burning down this courtroom! Yeah, sorry, that was a bit more fire than I'd expected. If my whiskers had caught on fire, the beard would destroy you! Prosecutor Gavin, let me repeat myself. This switch is a remote igniter trigger. Doesn't that suggest something to you?
You're talking about what happened to me, aren't you?
Exactly. That night at the concert, there was one unusual burst of flame. When your guitar caught fire in the middle of your performance. Wasn't that part of the stage show, though? Prosecutor Gavin was entirely unaware such a thing had been planned. And the guitar that burned was a valuable keepsake.
That's right. He got it in Burguinia from Lamiroir. He said the sound was amazing. Before it burned, of course. Now it just kind of smokes.
The better the guitar, the brighter it burns. Air forehead.
Yes?
Don't tell me you're trying to tie these two things together. Those being the shooter's voice, heard by Lamiroir, and the guitar suddenly catching on fire.
I am. It's really simple when you think about it. Mr. Latouche and the shooter were at the crime scene. The shooter was wearing a headset. He ordered someone on stage to press the switch. The switch was pressed, and the guitar caught fire. Well, that does seem to make sense. Though something about it is bugging me. Can't quite put my finger on it. Really? Seems pretty simple to me.
Forehead, don't destroy what little respect I have for you. I was expecting something a little more sensible. I guess I was wrong.
What's this all about, Prosecutor Gavin?
His simple story simply makes no sense. Think, that night my guitar caught fire, yes. The cause may have been this indeed. However, the guitar caught fire during the second set.
Ah! That's right! Of course! The guitar caught fire during Lamiroir's song!
Indeed, yet the shooting happened during the third set. The two are utterly unrelated.
Yes, that must have been what was bugging me. The whole premise for this is faulty.
See? His story makes no sense.
Are you sure about that? What exactly do you mean, Mr. Justice? Maybe it's not the premise for my explanation of the switch that's at fault. Maybe it's our premise for the entire case so far. What premise is this, specifically? I'm glad you asked. I'm saying that maybe the killing didn't take place in the third act.
What's this? But Detective Emma Skye heard shots and found the body. All of this happened in the third act.
Gunshots rang out. And, according to his testimony, Machi was in that dressing room at the time. Where are you going with this, Mr. Justice? Stay with me, Your Honor. He also told us this in his testimony. Namely, that the victim had already been shot. We all heard gunshots, but no one saw the shooting.
This is insane.
Just before the shooting took place, the shooter was heard on his headset, telling someone to press the switch. The next moment, Prosecutor Gavin's guitar burst into flame. We know that a remote trigger igniter was inside the guitar. From all those facts, we can draw only one conclusion. The crime did not take place during the third act, but during the ballad performance, the second act.
What?
Order! 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 But that goes against the evidence. What does, Your Honor? This crime was carried out according to the lyrics of that song, yes?
Hey, he's right! Look! The bullet is supposed to come after the fire.
You're thinking about it the wrong way.
Huh?
Look, why would the shooter craft the events of the day to follow the lyrics anyway? It's an awful lot of trouble to go through, with little merit for the person doing it. Well, I'm sure whoever it was had some reason. Yes, they did. A reason that made it advantageous to follow the lyrics.
You're saying the order was reversed on purpose.
Reversed, Prosecutor Gavin.
If the criminal followed the lyrics strictly, then yes. The shooting would have had to come after the guitar burst into flame. Yet, Air Forehead has raised another possibility. He's claiming that the bullet came not after, but just before the fire.
Couldn't have put it better myself. We were only meant to think that the shooting came after the guitar burst into flame. That was the criminal's objective. The crime followed the lyrics to a point, but that was the ruse. Why else would the killer risk discovery by moving the body? That was the final touch to make us think he'd follow the lyrics the whole way. Order! 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 That would explain this most unusual situation. It does. The killer changed the order of events to create himself an alibi. In other words, the killer was someone who had an alibi for the third set, but not the second.
I was hoping it wouldn't come to this, but sadly it has. Let me tell you why your little fairy tale makes no sense at all. Oh, it sounds good, I'll give you that. You've given us a reason why the killer bothered following the lyrics of my song. But I question your logic. For it's flawed from the very beginning.
Flawed?
Yes. A contradiction, Airforehead, one I've pointed out several times, no less. At the time of the crime, the small window at the scene was closed. How could Lamiroir have heard a voice through it?
Oh.
I know that you would like to divert our attention from this critical fact, but you're basing your entire line of reasoning on a false premise.
Right. Lamiroir's testimony is my entire case. That voice she heard, the shooter's voice.
What if she couldn't hear it, Apollo?
Look, what do we have? A man saying press the switch. And near the crime scene, we have a switch, which acts as a remote trigger for an igniter. And last but not least, Prosecutor Gavin's flaming guitar. It can't all be coincidence, but how do I make it work?
I see a more direct line of questioning is required. When the crime scene was investigated immediately after the crime, that window was closed. Care to tell us how Lamiroir heard the voice?
A key point, to be sure. Mr. Justice, can you explain this to the court? Okay, Justice, you've got one thing to prove, and one thing only. Lamiroir heard a voice. And she heard it during the second set. Think, how is Lamiroir able to hear the voice? She has divine hearing. Yeah, that's awesome. It's not, this was disproven, and this is stupid, so it has to be the third one. When we investigated the scene, the window was closed. The shooter had no reason to close it had it been opened either. Meaning, it was impossible to hear the voice through that window.
Ah, it's good to hear you making sense again. For a moment I was afraid you might be a Bulgarian too.
That's racist.
I'm German, fuck you.
As I was saying, Lamiroir could not hear the voice through the window. So there can be only one explanation. She heard the voice from another location entirely. What's this?
You do amuse me so. And here I thought you and good sense were back on speaking terms. Now, I'm afraid you and good sense speak two entirely different languages. Shall I interpret for you, Airforehead? Lamiroir clearly stated she heard the voice through that small window. And there is only one small window at the scene.
Are you sure? Think about it. Isn't there another small window at the scene?
There is?
Ah, I know that look. He wants us to ask him. Very well, you claim Lamiroir heard the voice from another location. Mr. Justice, show us where the location was and lighten the beard! Lamiroir heard the voice from here. That's a good question. Where did she hear the voice from? Crap. This is where Lamiroir heard that voice from. Oh, so I was right in my first interpretation. I just didn't think the thing could go all the way up to that area. But that's no small window. That's the air vent. What did she tell us? She said she's a Borkinian, unfamiliar with our language. It's not a stretch to imagine he called the air vent a small window.
Now you've done it. You've gone beyond ridiculous and into ludicrous. So Lamiroir was up in the ventilation system listening to this man's voice?
That's the only logical explanation, yes.
Logical? I do not think this word means what you think it means, Airforehead.
Okay, what about it isn't logical?
It hardly merits saying. Why would Lamiroir be in the ventilation system? Hiding like a rat. No offense intended to her, of course.
The explanation for that is simple, Prosecutor Gavin. Isn't it, Lamiroir? You have been listening to our discussion here, yes?
Yes. I admit it had me quite confused since yesterday. Yes, the small window was closed. But why should that mean I could not hear through it? I fear the prosecutor might himself need an interpreter.
Ugh.
Problem here is words. Lamiroir, this small window through which you heard the voice. Was it up high on the ceiling of the room? Not low on a wall?
Yes, it was up on the ceiling.
Bam, motherfreaker!
What?
Order, order! I will have order! If the beard has to destroy everybody in this jury. Witness, you will clarify the statement to the court. Are you, in fact, saying that you were above the ceiling of the room? And that's where you heard the moment of the crime?
Yes, in fact, I was. I am sorry. I never imagined it would become such an important point.
Yes, well, why the heck were you up there?
I
believe it's time for another
I'm not
testimony.
sure I can't.
May I remind you, this is a murder trial? We will hear your testimony. Tell us why you witnessed the crime from above the ceiling of that room. Please. Well, looks like I'm on the right track. We sure are. Above the ceiling.
Yes, I was above the ceiling when I heard the voice. I had heard there was a small window there before. It was in the middle of my performance. I had no time to report what I had heard. As to why I was there, I cannot say. I am bound to secrecy on this matter.
Bound to secrecy?
In my line of work, one has many obligations to uphold.
But you say you were in the middle of your performance. So this did happen during the second act.
I did not witness the crime. You must understand. I only know what I heard.
Yes, but you must tell us what you were doing in detail.
That's what the cross-examination is for, yeah, Airforehead? Our mission in this court is to discern the truth. No obligation, no binding pact may hinder that mission.
Very well. Mr. Justice, you may begin the cross-examination.
What are you going to do, Apollo?
I'm going to find out the truth. She was up above that ceiling for a reason. I just have to get it out of her. And if I remember correctly, I know what to do here. So let's do it. Alright. You were above the ceiling when you heard the voice. You heard there was a small window there before. You were in the middle of your performance. I had no time to report what I'd heard. So when I was there, I cannot say. Okay, this. I believe, if I'm correct, we must present the videotape. Lamiroir, truth be told, the reason for your presence above the ceiling is quite clear. Especially when you consider what happened during your performance. Yes, it's all right here on this video.
It wraps itself around me, and now through the air I fly. Whoa, whoa, burning on in my heart fire. Burn my love away, all away, like a bullet of love fire. Take my life away, all away. Guitar, guitar, up together to the sky.
As we can see, Lamiroir was clearly not on the stage for her entire performance. Though it saddens me to be so realistic. Lamiroir is incapable of actually vanishing, let alone teleportation. So the only explanation is that she was hidden from view, and during that time, she moved to the back of the forum.
Apollo!
What, Trucy?
It's not nice to reveal a magician's secrets, and it's against the
lawyer. I'm not supposed to be nice. This is all very fascinating. But how is it possible? There's only 20 seconds between when she disappears and reappears. She couldn't have moved that fast. Is something wrong, Prosecutor Gavin? This was his concert, his show. He knows how the illusion was performed. Aha! He's just realizing his own oversight. Let's look at the cross-section diagram again. Here, we can trace a route through the ceiling. It goes from the stage through the backstage to the rear of the forum. Aha! Recall Lamiroir's testimony from yesterday.
I was on my way from the stage to the backstage exit. There was something like a little window there. And that's how I saw it.
She went from the stage to the backstage exit. A perfect description of this route above the ceiling. Lamiroir knew of this because of her part in the illusion. But she wasn't the only one who knew.
What?
Just now in the lobby, Machi told me something.
I know. I know if I open vent, I can leave stage and backstage.
He said that?
Oh, were you not informed, Prosecutor Gavin?
I knew about the Vanishing Act, of course. Yet I had no idea of the routes that would be used. Why didn't that magician tell me?
Magicians only reveal details of their acts on a need-to-know basis. They're the bread and butter of a magician's life, you know.
Which is why he bound Lamiroir to secrecy. Well, Lamiroir?
I am impressed, Mr. Attorney. Machi was right about you.
So, what does this mean? Are you saying you used this route above the ceiling?
I did.
Well, that's that. But I'm still a little confused. Why is that, Your Honor? As I said before. There was a very little time between when she disappeared and when she reappeared. "20 seconds, tops. How could she do it so fast? Especially if she stopped to hear the shooter's voice." That's a good question. Can this witness explain this to the court?
I cannot.
Very well. Mr. Justice? Yes. It's all up to you. Do your thing. What thing, Your Honor? You need to explain how Lamiroir was able to teleport like she did. Or I'm throwing your case out with the bathwater. Why do I get picked on? It's Lamiroir who isn't going along with the program here.
As I have stated before, I am not at liberty to speak of the illusion that night in detail.
And on that note, we'll find out next episode. Rate, comment, subscribe, favorite, and see you guys in the next epic episode of Apollo Justice.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, I am TheDaneRaw, and if you didn't read the info below, I am the voice actor that plays Klavier Gavin in the Apollo Justice series. I will never change Klavier's or anyone else's voice at any point in a series, and as far as like his pitch becoming different or his German accent becoming different, I did not change anything. The reason why you might be thinking this is because I recently got a good recording mic. Otherwise, that's the only reason I can think of that my voice would be coming through differently. So, that being said, yeah, those rumors are false, and that's that. So, thank you for watching, and I hope you all have a great day.